Hi, Azam. Thanks for helping me with my project.
Hello, Nathan. So good to hear your voice after a long time. How you been?
I've been doing pretty well, just getting some practice in isolation and what it'd be like to be an astronaut with this whole COVID-19 thing. How
Oh,
about you?
yeah, same here, man. It's been getting worse day by day. Let's hope it gets better uh, soon.
So did you know that NASA is planning to send people to the moon in 2024?
I actually didn't know that. This is a news to me. I had no idea that NASA is planning. So this is for a general people. I mean, anybody can go and like when you go to so if you're flying to New York, you go to a plane ticket, you buy a plane ticket, and you sit in the plane and you go to New York. Is it something like that? I mean,
No, it'd be professional astronauts going. So people who've undergone
okay,
multiple years of training and really strenuous selection process. So uh, definitely,
right.
definitely not you and me yet, but hopefully before the end of the decade, maybe companies like SpaceX or Blue Origin will will have some options for us to do something neat. But NASA is just going to be sending
Okay,
a
okay,
professional astronaut.
okay.
Uh,
So right now they don't. Right now, I believe they do send astronauts, right? Or they don't?
Not to the moon. They only send them up to the International Space Station, which
And
is
right. Okay.
orbiting
Right.
about 200 miles above the Earth. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Okay.
and
So
actually,
you are
SpaceX is going to be launching some astronauts in May to the International Space Station for NASA. Right now, the U.S. sends all of its astronauts over to Russia, and Russia launches them into space for us.
okay. Okay. Wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
I know it's kind of funny considering how it all started with the rivalry between the two, and now
Exactly.
we need cooperation. So,
Wow. Yeah.
what do you think about space exploration? Do you think it's a really good thing or a waste of resources? Or, I mean, like when you think about space exploration, how do you think about it?
No, it's very interesting, very exciting. Definitely, since the world is coming smaller, so now we have to come out. So it's definitely a much better thing to explore out what is outside our world, what is outside our universe. So definitely, if they're exploring, this is a very good thing. I support that.
Jeff Bezos has a space company.
Okay, no, I was not aware of that.
Yeah, it's called Blue Origin, and Jeff has talked about it many times, and he actually thinks that his work with Blue Origin is actually more important than his work with Amazon. Of course, I wonder what the current situation, what his thoughts on that would be. But he says, we should keep the Earth for living and use space for working, and by that,
Oh, okay.
take all of our mining activities and manufacturing activities and try to move them
Mm-hmm.
away to protect the earth. I was wondering what you thought about
Wow,
that.
nice idea. Nice idea. I like it. I like. I don't know how feasible it is, but the thinking is like I like the thinking. I mean, you have to explore how feasible it is, how much it is worth, and how much is it basically going to pay back. So, but definitely, this is definitely a good idea. I mean, until unless you explore, you won't know. Until until you find out what is the how it is going to work. So, I definitely like the idea.
Yeah, feasibility is an interesting concept.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things that used to be infeasible that we now take for granted.
exactly, exactly.
What are some of the biggest examples that you could think of something that was once thought to be infeasible that now is like an everyday thing?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, definitely. I mean, once the feasibility report are there, then we can definitely see, compare. But right now, I mean, I kind of support this idea, and I don't, because I don't have not that much knowledge on these areas. So
Well, I mean, even like this video chat, you and I talking on a computer to each
right.
other without having any more people involved than just you and me. 20 years ago would have been, well, maybe 30 years ago would have been thought to be impossible or infeasible.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And now you can like send a letter overnight to pretty much any part of the world, and they get it the next day.
Sure.
Uh, I mean, imagine talking to somebody about that in like the early 1900s. Um, you know,
Yes, I clearly remember um, back home somebody installed a video phone in his home. So when somebody comes and rings the bell, he can see who is in at the main door,
oh,
and then he
wow.
basically opens. Yeah. So this was like way back when we were very young, and that was basically a big thing for us. Wow. I mean, he can see who is at the main door. I mean, usually we used to go down and open the door and see who is at the door knocking or who's ringing the bell. But this person, he already had a video phone he imported from Hong Kong or somewhere, and he could basically see who is in the main door and who is ringing the bell, and he can communicate with him on the phone that, hey, okay, all right, come on in, or I'm sending someone to open the door. That was a big kind of a revolution thing in those days. But now this has become so common and so cheap nowadays. So now every house has a camera installed all over. Basically, they have 4, 5, 8 cameras all over. So it becomes very cost effective.
Yeah, and now we don't think of anything about it. Some other things that were infeasible was everybody having a car.
Yeah, true.
And then everybody having a computer. I mean, can you imagine in the day, um, back in the day, whenever computers took up an entire room and they cost like millions of dollars, and telling people, hey, at some point you'll have not just one, but maybe 10 computers. Like you'll have your old computer, your children have a computer, your wife will have a computer.
Hmm.
It's just like kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
unimaginable.
Um, so some people I've talked to, they say we have enough problems here on Earth that we should be solving. Why are we going into space? And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
No, that will always be there. Even if you go to space, you will find difficulties, you will find problems, issues. But it is definitely it's a very good thing, and totally support this effort. Whoever is taking is to at least explore and find out that yes, okay, there is another place too outside our world, and let's explore. If we can stay there, if we cannot stay there, that's fine. We'll come back. We have a home here, so there will definitely. Like I said, the example that you give, yes, there will be people who will be asking you that, well, why are we doing this? We should have done that. We should have spent money there. But those kind of discussions are good. That will give you more opportunities. That will give you more chance to think on what should and what should not be doing. But again, I mean, from the exploration side, I would definitely agree, and I support this fully.
Um, yeah, I think there's really kind of sort of several ways of looking at that question. One is, is going into space taking away resources that would have been available to solve problems here on Earth? And, everybody looks at money, right? Um, but, money doesn't actually solve problems. It's
Hmm.
people and resources and technology that solves problems. I mean, right now it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're not going to be able to get a webcam on Amazon. So
Right.
because they're out, and it'll be a little while before you get one. Um, but the other token, you know, uh, I feel like the potential of humanity is like so underutilized. Like you know, not everybody in the world is able to contribute the same way as you and I can. And then also, a lot of us spend time doing things that uh, can oftentimes be a waste of time. So there's like so much human resource that we
Hmm.
really could solve the problems on Earth and go to space. Like those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
How do you think about that? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Uh, I mean, yeah, of course. The example, I mean, if money doesn't solve everything, which is fine, I agree with that. But again, you have to justify. You need to basically see where you are spending the money, which resource you are basically having to solve the issues or solve the problems. Um, Technical people, technicalities will be there. But you will like the example you gave, that even if you have money now, you will not be able to find a webcam, which is true. But again, if you don't have money, you can have if you have money, you may find somewhere else, and you can ship it in 2 days rather than you have to wait till end of the month. So it goes, I think it goes both ways. Nathan.
Yeah, well, I
So
mean,
tell.
the other thing is, I had a friend who needed a webcam, and he called me up and like, hey, do you have any extra webcams? And I was like, yeah, I
Uh-huh.
got one. And so he was able to get a webcam without, I mean, wealth is not necessarily what's in your bank account. It's the relationships you have.
Right, right,
It's the things you
right, yes.
know.
True,
It's kind of like your access to resources and things like that.
true, true, true.
Well,
So tell me
oh,
more
go ahead.
about your. Sorry, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead. I was just going to ask you
Okay.
another
I was
question.
interested to more about like so you are planning to go to moon in 2024.
Uh, yeah. Um, um, well, I'm not going to the moon. NASA's sending a couple of people to the moon, and one of them for sure is going to be the first woman.
Okay,
And
that's interesting.
yeah, basically the last time I went to the moon was in 1972, and between
Mm-hmm.
1969 and 1972, we landed um, on the moon 6 times with two people each, and all those times was a white guy. And this time they're planning to send a woman on that first trip for sure. But um, you know,
Okay,
so that's sort of the thing. Yeah.
okay.
Um, yeah. So like the last question is, if it was safe and affordable, would you have any interest in like going into orbit around the Earth, like for maybe a
Absolutely.
absolutely? How about to the moon if it took like
If,
a
yes, absolutely. I'll put my name on top of the list. If it is affordable, if it is feasible, I'll be the first person to go.
and how about uh, going to Mars over multiple years? Like it take like 2 years. Would you be interested in a much longer trip?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. I would like to
Okay.
explore that too. Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's awesome. So any last comments?
Oh, I mean, please keep me posted. When I heard this news, I was very excited, and thank you for setting up this call. And if there's something I can do to help you explore more, please do count me in. And any volunteer work or anything you need, please do call me, and I'll be there.
Well, thank you so much, Azam.
Oh, thank you, Nathan.